You know, comics are super complicated. They can be some of the most beautiful, frustrating, ugly, tragic, and confusing things that could ever exist. I think right there next to anime and telenovelas, comics are right there with the most fluctuating relationship dynamics to ever exist. I think that's why I like cartoons for relationships so much. While sometimes they are overly simplistic for chemistry or they go through sitcom tropes like I go through Cookies, they will usually have a very satisfying big, they finally got together moment! Until they break up the next season or between seasons, depends on how lazy the writing staff was that day. 2003's Teen Titans cartoon from Cartoon Network is no exception to these tropes. They tend to stick with a will they, won't they theme, and when it comes to relationships, there's very few exceptions to this rule. This ship is not one of those exceptions. Today we're going to be talking about the main couple, Robin and Starfire, or RobStar if you prefer, the canon couple in the comics that just so happened to have gotten together recently. Well, at least back together. How much longer that's gonna last, I don't know. Alrighty then, let's get to it. As always, these items aren't in any particular order, and please remember that these reasons are not meant to make you stop shipping the characters. I feel like my other episodes have kind of made that unclear. I don't want you to stop shipping the characters. In fact, please tell me what you think of these characters being shipped together in the comments below. I really actually do love the comments that you left on my Kataang videos, even though your comments kind of range from the amount of hate that I gave to Kataang as you gave to me. So, you know what? Fair. It's fair. I don't particularly like my Kataang videos anyway. So, after rewatching the episodes that most describe their relationship, even I have to admit that Starfire and Robin are nicely written. Well, at least before Season 3, which reminds me why I like Robin and Raven so much. Let's go over the basics, since most of our recent memory of Teen Titans show is probably from that one episode of Teen Titans Go where they were giving the writers a run for their money. Teen Titans was an action superhero cartoon series that lasted from 2003 to 2006 for 5 seasons in what I like to call the weeb era of imagination and animation, because everybody lost their imagination when they saw an anime for the first time, and so everything had to look like an anime in some way or form. It was weird. It was also the second TV appearance of the Teen Titans, the first being the canceled superhero drug-free special that appeared just before the Super Friends spin-off series that had the group be filled with an original roster of sidekicks, such as Donna Troy, Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Speedy. Robin usually didn't show up then, despite the fact that he was actually the leader of the series in the comics.
Here come the Teen Titans, a quartet of towering talent. Kid Flash, whose speed defies the eye to follow. Wonder Girl, swift and powerful super lass. Speedy, whose fantastic arrows perform awesome feats. Aqualad, bold and daring marine marvel. Fabulous foursome for right against might, the Teen Titans.
The 2003 show, on the other hand, was actually based on the new Teen Titans, or just Titans, from 1980 to 1996. A lot was actually changed to the canon for the sake of the show in order to make it more kid-friendly, up-to-date, and make the characters likable or threatening. Because trust me when I say, if you read the source material, you would not like Raven as much as you do now. I won't go through every little change here. Maybe I will if I decide, let's review the series. But for now, this is just me establishing the show, as well as saying that I won't be going over the comic canon at all. The reason being that there's such drastic changes to characters, backstories, general character arcs for the series that it should be considered its own series, its own canon, and its own little bubble. With that being said, what is this series about? The show centers around the superhero lives of Robin, Cyborg, Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy, who share the responsibility of protecting Jump City from evil villains. And in later seasons, they actually end up protecting the entire world. Meanwhile, having to develop as people, teenagers living together under one roof. And today we'll only be focusing on Robin and Starfire. Robin is the main leader of the group, and based on a combination of, I think, 3 different Robins that existed at that time, causing a lot of people to debate which Robin is he exactly? I mean, don't get me wrong, he shares the backstory, the relationship with Starfire, the detective skills of Dick Grayson, as well as bearing the mask of Nightwing in the future. Though a lot of his personality shows more of Jason Todd's Robin, with his anger, obsession, alter ego as Red X, echoing Jason Todd's revival as Red Hood, though he also shares the empathy, competitiveness, and childlike nature of Tim Drake, aka Red Robin.
Red Robin, yum!
Most people, at least in the fandom, all agree it's Dick Grayson's Robin, as a way to just kind of separate the two, although please keep in mind that Jason Todd also dated Starfire for a short period of time. Oh yeah, and Robin is the sidekick from Batman, right? Yeah. Ooh, oh my god, what a surprise, I never would have guessed. Robin is described as a natural-born leader, stubborn, heroic, and to be honest, in the show, he's actually the most paragon of the characters. Robin definitely reflects the superhero traits that come from, Batman over here in many ways. From the initial isolation of his friends, to the secrets, to the serious tone, obsessive nature towards his arch-nemesis. But despite all that, and despite the fact that he can be a huge, edgy stick in the mud, he is actually pretty chill. He's fun-loving, he's competitive, laid back, and has some of the funniest damn reaction to things.
Okay. Which way is that?
I don't know. I can't read the signs.
Oh, the people of my planet are able to learn any language instantaneously through lip contact.
Okay. That's...
What even is that? Why is he moving like that? Is his entire body one of those noodle things in front of a goddamn car dealership? What the hell? Now we have Coriander, or what is now known as Starfire, the Tamaranian princess from, Tamaran, an alien planet from outer space. Yeah, she's filled with unadulterated rainbows, sunshine, and rage! She might seem stupid to some people, but I think that's one of the last things you would describe her as. She's naive, oblivious, awkward, incredibly empathetic. Yeah, but stupid definitely isn't what I would describe her as. She's very open-hearted, willing to do everything to help her friends, easily jealous, though depending on the person it can be passive, like with her sister, or extremely aggressive, like with Kitten. But this emotional ball of sunshine has actually got a lot of power knocked into those emotions, though she seems to have a better understanding of them than, say, Raven. On the surface, they may seem like total opposites to each other. Trust me though, that nothing is really opposite of these two other than maybe one having powers and the other not having powers. Now, before I get into this, I should state one thing. They aren't a bad couple. They really aren't badly written, nor are they perfect, as every relationship has its problems, and I appreciate that they made problems for these characters. I just think that these are things in the ship that tend to be looked over, or is just a way that I've analyzed this within the show's canon. Number 4. It's no secret that my OTP in this series was Robin and Raven. It's not that big of a deal. But I will say that Starfire had some ships of her own that seemed pretty good. Although I'm not talking about Starfire and Speedy, although I don't know why that ship is popular. Maybe it's because they dated for a while in the comics, I don't know. But I'm a little more inclined to ship Cyborg and Starfire, actually. As while Robin is a little more closed off to Starfire in the beginning, and even a little later in the series, Cyborg seems to be more comfortable talking with her and having to overcome challenges with her as well. Also, Robin and Raven. Just all of Season 3. All of it. All of it, with maybe a few sprinkles of it like in other seasons. The overall tone of Robin and Starfire is a little too simple for my liking. It's the main leader getting with the prettiest girl, which is established to be Starfire by many of the characters in the show. It's kind of weird, but it's to be expected, you know? And while I don't hate the stories that were told, they were just far and few between with basic story elements. There wasn't really anything spicy, though I will admit that there are some really great moments between these two. Like when trapped on a desert planet for some reason. Well, actually I know exactly why, but still. Starfire actually shows how capable she is without her powers, and how intelligent she is about picking up Earth behaviors. It's really cool. I've even heard some people ship Beast Boy and Starfire, and I actually think that would have been really interesting. Otherwise, it's just kind of feels like it's check by numbers list for the characters to go through a standard love story. Nothing inherently bad with it, as standard is standard for a reason. It's nice, it's cute, but it's not really that interesting. Number 3. This centers mostly on Season 1, but this still seems like a pretty big thing, especially for Starfire, who encourages openness over all else. Robin goes through progression about being more open about big plans because, you know, he's working for a team now. Well, he was working for a team before. I don't know why he's, like, on his own. You know what? It doesn't matter. But honestly, it just seems like something that Robin is going to have to work on throughout his entire life. His obsessions with Slade, the crime fighting, it all can get in the way of their personal relationship. Robin seems to be someone who occasionally gets obsessive, but works best with other people. Though Robin has also, you know, allowed these obsessions to take over his life, keep in mind that most of these obsessions are with Slade, who is a big part of his character development, and even after his death and then his resurrection, maybe Starfire could bring in an emotional support that he needs to bring him back to positivity. But then there's the other side of the coin. Starfire can also be a bit overbearing with relationships, even disrupting entire missions at times because of it. Well, that I can definitely see as disrupting, you know, their relationship later on in the future if they don't talk about it or they just continue on with that behavior. To add on to that, Starfire also has a tendency to go overboard pretty quickly. Things like jealousy being a key factor in this, like when she nearly destroyed that one couple at the Punch Bowl during a prom.
Oh, Robin! Of course! I'd love to dance with you!
Please have some punch?
Though we can also see what Robin can be like without her entirely. Someone cold, distant, taking crime into his own hands. He basically becomes Batman. Though, because that's no longer the future of them, I can't really say whether or not they would end up with a Night Star of their own. I don't think that they could really get over some of these issues unless they legitimately talked about it or, you know, they had a personal conversation about it, which I don't think we would ever gotten in the show, ever. But, you know what? Starfire is definitely willing to talk. She has a willingness to do so. But even in Trouble in Tokyo, Robin allowed work to overcome personal moments with each other. When Starfire tries to open up, Robin kind of just shuts her down. This then leads us to our next topic. Number 2. The movie definitely sucks. This is getting more into the execution of the show rather than the chemistry between the characters. I hate how this is supposed to be our big, they're finally together movie. The story was fun. It was unfocused, the rest of the characters and the mystery itself felt like filler, and Robin and Starfire's interaction were basically really just supposed to be there for the sake of, hey, they're finally getting together up until maybe the end of the movie. There's only maybe 2 or 3 scenes where I'm like, yeah, I like them. I like these RobStar moments. Otherwise, within the context of the film, they just feel like an utter waste of time. I know that this isn't usually what I do, but it's important because, well, if the big moment is soured by, subpar writing, especially if you were going to be cheering these characters on from the beginning, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when considering this is our big finale for these two to get together. It's less of an issue I have with the characters themselves and more of an issue I have with the conclusion to their romantic subplot. Number 1. Let me explain this one, because I feel like I might have lost some of you here. For me at least, even as a child, these two never felt like a couple that would last for that long. Yeah, they're together, but now what? Their interactions didn't really leave me wanting more or even wanting to see them in a romantic way. On dates or on superhero stakeouts, they just seemed best when dealing with a group, like when you're in high school, basically forced to be together by location or obligation. I know that there's probably plenty of fanfiction writers or there's plenty of fan artists or shippers that completely disagree with me on this and say that I'm really depressing or that I have way too much investment in maybe Robin and Starfire or other ships. And you know what, to a degree, I can admit that. I prefer more dramatic tension in my ships because it feels like the relationship can last and be stronger against adversity. I mean, you go through the end of the world together, I clearly don't think that going out with the boys is gonna put a big damper on the relationship. Let's be real here. Here's the issue though. They've both gone through so much stuff. So much physical abuse that it's impressive, and some of their emotional conversations are actually really nice. But they don't feel deep enough to be anything more than the moment, with only maybe one exception being Stranded, where they actually have some of the best emotional conversations in the show. Otherwise, in comparison to other characters, all their conversations are either superficial or it's just about work. I don't think that chemistry alone can carry anyone's relationship. Understanding, communication, and maturity carries a relationship. You don't have to be the perfect person to be in a relationship, nor is it that you have to be emotionally damaged so that the relationship can fix you. That's not healthy. However, I don't think that the interactions between Robin and Starfire venture that far deep into anything considering the different topics that are covered in this show. So those are the things I personally don't like about these characters' relationship within the canon of this show. Though I do think that a lot of you might be asking me, hey, what do I think of Starfire and Nightwing's relationship in the comics? And I'm here to say, it's cute. They're both characterized very differently in the comics, and having Starfire being both polyamorous and pansexual is actually kind of interesting as a story element. Also, to those who are wondering, yes, there is an alternate Earth where Starfire and Nightwing have a kid. Does that mean that the TV show canon has more merit with Starfire and Robin? I don't think so. Some people might. I don't think so because they're so characterized differently that it can't be considered the same type of canon. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, it's close to entirely different canons at this point. Like, these should be considered alternate universes because Jesus. And also, to add on to that, comics have such an ever-changing canon about them, it's about as consistent as the Sonic franchise. This couple, not the worst one in the world. It's nice, it's okay, it's just one I don't particularly care for. If you're into couples that are simple and cute with moments of depth, this can totally be your thing. I just like my pairings to be a little more emotional and complex. What about you guys, though? What's your take on Robin and Starfire? Ship? No ship? Maybe kind of OT3? Anybody? Do you like the comics or the TV show from 2003? Or do you like Teen Titans Go? What do you suggest I cover next? This is going to be my future evil overlord, Crimson Glow, and Robin and Raven are the best ship. Change my mind! Hey everyone, quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon, such as Lilithy and Transformer Brett. Thank you so much for supporting my channel with such great comments, concerns. I really appreciate everything that you guys go through to put up with my stuff. Please keep in mind that I actually am taking commissions at the moment, video commissions, as well as art commissions. Art commissions will be found over on my Twitter or on Deviantart itself. Also, become a patron to get discounts on art commissions as well as different video commissions that you might want. All links and other information will be down in the description below. And make sure to like and subscribe, all that junk, and make sure you press the little bell icon so that you can get notified of my videos. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
With a heart, the piccolo and the king.